Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Here a question comes regarding the charity industry. What charity organizations should we donate to? And what are the reliable ones? Those are known for 100% charity or 100% zakat. So this is a question that comes up from time to time. Generally, a charitable organization or charity, it's an organization that's primary focus is the social well-being. That's what it's known for. And the origin, how charity organizations, non-profit organizations were in the past, is that they were doing it voluntarily, tatawwa'an. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, that they يطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. They feed the orphan, the captive, the miskin, the needy. They do all of that, and Allah says their answer and towards others is that لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. We don't want anything in return of thanks or compensation. So that was the origin, and that's the best of affair, because Allah says وَمَنْ تَطَوَّعَ خَيْرًا فَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَهُ. Whoever does good and voluntarily, then that is better for him. So no shadow of doubt, this is the origin, and this is how it started. But we're going to speak about the Islamic ruling on regarding seeking compensation or taking a commission for donations. Is that allowed? And also we're going to speak which charity organizations take a commission, and also how much do they take. Is there a certain percentage which is allowed and which isn't allowed, if it is allowed? So we want to discuss this, inshallah.
تجاه هذه الجمعيات. العمل الخيري الإنساني في المقابل السعودية يا أخي أننا نفرح لما نشوف الناس فيهم خير وفيهم وقفة لوجه الله تعالى. أول كانت جمعيات.
So here's a clip of a Saudi official who is responsible for collecting zakat, works in the government. He describes the history of jam'iyat or charity organizations, how it started, inshallah.
خيرية ويقوم عليها بعض العاملين، يعني إن ما يعني ما نبخسهم أشياء، ما يعطيهم العافية. لكن لما هذه الجمعيات العمل الخيري الإنساني في المقابل السعودية يا أخي أننا نفرح لما نشوف الناس فيهم خير وفيهم وقفة لوجه الله تعالى. أول كانت جمعيات خيرية ويقوم عليها بعض العاملين، يعني إن ما يعني ما نبخسهم أشياء، ما يعطيهم العافية. لكن لما
So he mentions at the beginning these charity organizations, how they began. It was أعمال خيرية, actions of voluntary act that people will come together on their own accord and do certain acts. Then he goes on to mention how it is now.
الرجال يقول لك والله ترى في للعاملين عليها وفي اللي جابوها وفي يروح المبلغ كله ولا يستفيد من المحتاج. ما في. يعني أذكر أن في قناة فضائية في ساعتين جبنا 12 مليون. في ساعتين جبنا 12 مليون، يعني ما هي بسهلة. بعدين تفاجأت أن 12 مليون يروح للاتصالات، يروح للقناة، يروح للعامل عليها، يروح.
And so he's saying now it reached to a level where perhaps a great percentage goes to the broadcasting, the connections of those who are calling, also those who are working. So he's saying now it's money being collected and little goes to the actual needy or the poor. So this is what he mentions. The reason why this topic is very sensitive and investigating further is very important is because at times someone perhaps may donate all of their life savings, or they may empty their whole bank account for a particular cause. So the likes in these situations, it could be overwhelming for the donor to hear that their life savings or that they empty their bank account and perhaps 50% of it is going to a particular worker in the company or going to this person or going to this affair. And transparency is very needed in these topics. Right. So here we'll give you an example of how people are regarding donations, and this is why it requires even more caution.
£1,339.79, because that is everything I've got in my bank.
Oh, subhanallah.
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
You are the people Allah is speaking about. You are the people the Prophet ﷺ is speaking about. You are those people.
And I wish I had £10,000 to give. I wish I had £100,000 to give for
Wallahi,
Gaza,
sister,
for the sake of Allah and for Gaza. But this is all I've got.
This is worth £1 million. This is worth £1 trillion.
This is what the...
And so you can see that when someone is giving all of their wealth up, or all of the money they have in their bank account, and they're giving it for a particular cause, and they're restricting that wealth for that cause, and they're emotional about it, if there is being deducted large amounts, and we say 40% or 30%, in these scenarios, it's good that this is brought up. And I'll give you examples that there's more da'is who have worked with some of these charity organizations coming out now and admitting this and saying what's happening, because it's getting overwhelming now.
And for example, if a person, he has easily convinced a businessman to donate, for example, $1 million for an Islamic cause, or for example, for the cause of Palestine. And he took hardly a few minutes to convince this person. And he takes a huge cut, for example, 25% or 30% of this. He hardly put in any efforts. And if you tell the people who are giving charity or donation that 25 or 30% of your money is going to be taken by this individual, most of them will not want to give the donation. They are donating because they want their money to reach this particular cause or for a particular...
People are becoming aware of this, and as a result, there's a negative reaction because there was a lack of transparency. I'll give you another example of someone on TikTok.
Salam guys, so I saw the video that the brother made about me regarding charity and how much influencers take from it. But yes, I do get paid for the campaigns that I do. So the percentage paid is not from the campaign itself, it's from the admin budget that all staff get paid from. And charities also raise money to cover these costs. Many influencers who have jobs that will do it for free, some do it at a very low fee, some get paid, some donate it back to the cause, or so many different causes. I was talking to one of the staff at the charity organization, and these are the messages I sent him.
But I want to use that money as part of something else that's going to help the people. But like some causes for Gaza, like different causes in for different areas.
With the money, I want to donate it to so many different causes, which is alhamdulillah what I did, and I will continue doing so inshallah. Allah is my witness for that. So the pay that I received is from the admin budget that most charities have. One thing about charities is they can't run and do not run without admin fees. Here are some screenshots that you guys can pull.
There's a reaction of some on social media about the likes of these affairs when they come to know of it.
I just want to say, and my followers, if you guys have been following me, I do a lot of charity work. So last year, alhamdulillah, I went to Palestine. We raised over £500,000, alhamdulillah. And then this year, with everything going on since October, we've raised over £250,000. So alhamdulillah, all in all, we've raised over £800,000. Recently just went to Turkey and helped a lot of families that evacuated from Gaza. So this was like in Ramadan.
Since we're talking about charity work, can someone ask Maryam Malik for me how much she is making out of her charity? Because, I always give the benefit of the doubt to Muslims when it comes to money, like I did before with this content creator who was Muslim as well. And I messaged her back in March 12th and asked her if she is making money out of collaboration with Human Concern International Canada. I did not get any response. I'm seeing some people getting confused behind the screen. You guys didn't know that Muslim influencers are making money out of promoting charity work? Let me burst your bubble. Almost all influencers who collab with charity organizations make money. Some organizations pay fixed amount per video delivered, and some organizations like HCI, the one that Maryam Malik is affiliated with, pay by percentage of the money that you raise. And the reason that I know that Maryam Malik is getting paid to fundraise for HCI is because HCI was trying to recruit one of my friends. And this is the email that they received from HCI. We have the #1 influencer charity team worldwide. And here they said that they worked with several influencers. And you see the name? Who's this? Maryam Malik. And here HCI made it clear this is a paid collaboration. You see the name here? Influencer Lead. They have a special team to recruit Muslim influencers. The email had even the PDF file of what you should post. And you're probably wondering behind the screen how much she made by fundraising for HCI. So their campaign during Ramadan had requirements: 3 collaboration posts and 3 stories on Instagram. And drum roll of how much she made. 10% of what you raise. So if they raise $10,000, they get paid $1,000. And to be clear, that money is not coming out of the campaign that they are raising for. It's coming out of their annual budget, which also comes out of the donations. Now remind me, how much did Maryam say that she raised in the past Ramadan? £250,000. Just quick math. That's £25,000 she made out of that fundraising. And like she said in her video, she went on a trip last year to Al-Aqsa Mosque during Ramadan. Who was sponsoring that trip? Also SCI. She said that she raised £500,000. Now I can't say for sure how much she made, but if we assume that she was also paid 10% out of the fundraiser, she would also make £50,000. The reason why charity organizations pay a lot of money to Muslim influencers to stay with them, because if they leave that charity for another charity, they take their network with them. Muslim influencers have all the charity organizations on a chokehold. When I found out about this, I wanted to talk about it, but it was Ramadan and I was like, I don't think that's the good timing. But to have the audacity and the shamelessness.
So that is the reaction. And so we wanted to speak about this. And we'll give more examples, inshallah, as we speak.
If you went to a fundraising dinner, right, for an orphan program, and there was a motivational speaker that was...
This is an attorney in California, Ahmed Sheikh, who specializes in these topics of charity and following up on their audits and what they report. And he's been following up some of these charity organizations for some time. Not to endorse all of his statements, but some of his statements are actually supported with some evidences and screenshots. But here's some words where he mentions here.
Is telling you to donate, and they disclosed to you in advance of your donation that the guy who's speaking to you and fundraising is going to take a 30% cut of all of your donations, right?
Well, that's going to be really awkward for the speaker, isn't it?
Right. I mean, but how would that influence your donation? Or how would that make your evening go?
Just to show that that there are certain negatives that could arise from not being transparent and clear to the people. I will show you another matter that was shared online.
Yes, if there is any question, you can ask, please.
Assalamualaikum, Chair.
Welcome.
My question is regarding giving and being generous. Recently, someone wrote in the WhatsApp group that nowadays we have to be very careful who we donate to, because there are many people who are jumping onto the bandwagon, forming NGOs to collect funds for some charitable organization or cause. And actually, they may just be doing it for themselves, because when they collect money, the Bank Negara allows them to take 30% for running costs, administrative cost, expenses. And then if they collect a month 100 million, they keep 30 million for themselves. They may give themselves 30,000 ringgit a month salary. And many of them they don't have a job. And then they form this NGO and then they can own big cars and big houses.
Yeah, so this is talking about collecting for certain charitable causes. Palestine, a drought in a particular country, to build a well, certain things that are specific. We're not talking about someone just donating to a masjid and saying, here, use this, whatever, for the expenses of the masjid, and use it as you see fit, and then they give to whoever they have of contractors working in the masjid or people renovating, or they give it to the imam, or they give it to the caretaker, anything that goes back to the expenses of the masjid to reimburse these people to keep them there full time. That is different. But we're talking about here a particular cause. It's an urgent matter that arises and people want to get their funds to a particular cause, but you do not disclose to them that a huge cut is going to somewhere else. This is what's causing the reaction of the people. We want to speak about this and what's the ruling of that, inshallah. As for like the charity scandals or scams and frauds, fraudulent behavior, we're not really going to focus on that. That's really clear. Like we know there was Minnesota, there was brought out on the news people that were presenting that they were feeding poor children a day, and then as a result, it was said that they were building houses at home, of houses and lands back home with the money. Upon the authenticity of this narration, we're not speaking about these type of things. These things happen. Like there was even one time, person, it was said that he was raising funds for Palestine. And he named his property Palestine. So he ended up taking the funds for his property. And people asked him, he said, my property is called Palestine. And this could happen. We found this. Some people, they're saying they're raising for a cause and they become the cause. They're not even the collectors anymore. They are the actual cause, unfortunately. So here we're going to share another reaction of some other people online. The more we hear of these reactions, we can just see that it's coming from different people online and different backgrounds, and they all have some sort of outrage about the topic.
I constantly get messages from people. You have money, why don't you give to charity? Maybe I do give to charity. I just don't put it all over social media. These people on fucking Facebook, you see them. A guy who goes and gives $50 to a homeless guy. And they record the whole thing on GoPros. And then he walks away and goes, it just feels so good to give, sometimes you gotta give. He just bought 18 million likes, $50. That's pretty fucking cheap. That's not charity. That's exploitation.
Yeah, so this is what we find sometimes. Perhaps some people even give a bag of rice to one poor person, get his image and make a video out of him, make a whole scenery, and get so much through monetary value through that whole affair on social media and using it just to create other funds, generating so much funds with that person's image. And maybe that same person just gets a bag of rice. And then after they're done with him, they continue to use his image for months and some of them years. And that person doesn't get a percentage, but the other people do get a percentage. Those people that are employers, those who are employing others, the directors and the employees, they're all continue their percentage. But that poor person's image, he just got maybe at times a bag of rice. And here I'll show you a clip of also another speaker who's outraged about this topic.
يهينون بها المحتاجين يذلون بها كم من عفيف يصورونه ثم ينشرون ذلك عبر وقائع التواصل الاجتماعي أو عبر الإعلانات في المجلات وما هم عليه من تلكم الوسائل أو ينشرونه عبر الإعلام في قنواتهم الفاجرة التي أذلت الفقراء التي أذلت المساكين التي أذلت المحتاجين.
And sometimes they put conditions on these people to get funds and so forth. We need to take your image. We need to show it to people. So some of these people are exploited just because they feel like they're in a desperate situation. So they agree to this. But they don't know what's in it for these people. Sometimes a percentage and so much. And if they only knew, they would want as well to be, because they're being used for all this. And it generates funds, and perhaps it continues a certain cause with someone's image, or someone's affair, or certain causes, and even leads to certain investments where we'll speak about that as well. They make an investment with that money, and then it creates another growth of wealth. All perhaps from one of these poor people. As image remains for the world to see, it's not a pleasing image, this condition he's in and how he's being seen and crying. But here he goes on to mention this khatib. This is a form of humiliation to the poor, and perhaps they just get a bag of rice.
لا من حقنا من فضله لا من فضلنا أفنهين الفقير ونصوره وننشر تلكم الصور عبر وسائل التواصل في العالم بأسره بكيلو من الدقيق أو بكيس من الأرز أو بعلبة من الزيت ثم تضع ذلكم الطفل أو تضع تلكم الفتاة أو تأتي بتلكم المرأة أو تأتي بذلكم الرجل الكبير وتضعه أمام تلك السلة الغذائية وتصوره للعالم ماذا قدمت له طعام لا يتجاوز اليومين أو الثلاثة ثم تتكسب بعده الأموال الطائلة. اتقوا الله في الفقراء اتقوا الله في المساكين يجب علينا أن نكرمهم يجب علينا أن نرفعهم.
It's upon us to honor these poor people. And to try to, yes, they're trying to help them, but sometimes this may last for a short span. But you, for the rest of your affair, is continuous benefiting from that fundraising for that cause. And we're going to give examples how certain people become wealthy as a result of these things. And we'll speak if it's halal or not, inshallah.
You give a bunch of money away and then you tell everyone about it, you're paying to be liked as opposed to giving to charity. So I don't really mention it. But what I have to start noticing is it's hard to give to charity because most charities are fucking scams. It would really bother me to give $5 million to some charity, some organization, and less than 1% that end up helping it. That's the truth about most charities. Some people go, give money to charity. I say, no, most charities are just NGOs and covers and scams. I'm not funding some chief executive's Lambo.
And the thing with these charity organizations, they even have courses now for them to be strategic with the wealth of the people. And we can speak about these courses, inshallah.
عن هذا الموضوع بكل صراحة. السبب الرئيسي أن الكثير من الجمعيات الخيرية ما لها استراتيجية. لماذا تحتاج الجمعيات الخيرية استراتيجية؟
I wanted to segue into the business, but we were having this discussion a few days earlier, right, around charities and how they manage money, finances, and I feel like there's a lot of money in the Muslim community, particularly in the charity sector, and I feel like the way that they deploy that and manage that can have a real bearing on, because they're the irrigation.
He's right about there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money. There's an increase. They're noticing by the year there's an increase of 7% up a year comparison to the year before, and wealth going to charity. So there's more charity organizations are receiving more money, but yet the world is becoming more poor. What is the reason? Is there mismanagement? Is there something happening? Good to look into these matters, inshallah.
They control the irrigation lines of the Muslim community, and if those guys are not pointing in the right direction, it affects the Muslim community. I'd love to get your sense on that, and then we follow the water down this irrigation line, and let's get into business as well.
Yes, yes. Yeah. One of the things that annoy me a lot when I hear trustees and CEOs saying that we are bound by the expectation of donors. That.
I hear Tawfiq Chowdhury, and someone has been accused of these charity scandals. Allah knows best about the truth of the matter of it, but this is what he's saying. He's annoyed by leaders of charity organizations saying that they feel they have to follow the expectation of donors, which is the origin. People are donating, follow the expectations. This is their wealth. Because the scholars say these charity organizations in reality are wukala. They're just being delegated to distribute the wealth on their behalf. So this is the origin. It's not something you should be annoyed by.
That annoys the hell out of me because it's kalimatul haq yurid biha batil. You know what that means? Meaning that it's a statement of truth. Of course, the donor's given it to you, you need to use it for the purpose that he's given it. But it's kalimatul haq, but yurid biha batil. And batil is that you just do whatever the donors want. I mean, if we do whatever the donors want, the world will be full of just masajid. Right? Because the donors just want masjid and they just want to look after orphans. That's it. Yeah. There's nothing else of the whole infrastructure of the ummah would be done.
We'll have a lot of
wells, right? We'll have a lot of wells.
The well in London.
But this goes back to the donor at the end of the day. It's based upon إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. If he wants a well, it's a well. You can, using someone's wealth for a different cause, seeing that it's better to use it this way, or to take a percentage of it and use it a different way, and just say, we'll just generally educate them. No, but at the same time, you still need full consent, and you still need for them to initiate that.
Happening. I remember talking to one employee of one of these larger nonprofits in the Muslim community in the U.S., this person had some.
This is the Ahmed Sheikh individual who's been following up a lot of these organizations like Islamic Relief, Penny Appeal, and these well-known humanitarian organizations.
Had some unrelated concerns about what was happening at that particular nonprofit that this person wanted to bring up to me, but happened to mention something about a donor or a conversation with a donor who had paid for a well, like a water well, and wanted their family's name on the water well, and had a friend who did something similar. And one of the things he noticed was the photograph that they showed looked virtually the same as a water well that his friend had. And he said, you guys just swapped the name, didn't you? Isn't that what happened? And, the person at the nonprofit said, no, brother, we wouldn't do something like that. Then sort of thought about it. Looks like we kind of did that. They're doing a variety of different...
So this is perhaps the same laughter that when here Tawfiq Chowdhury was laughing about people having multiple wells or masajid or some of these things. Sometimes could be true stories. Sometimes it could be true stories that these organizations end up not fulfilling the expectations, end up doing something else.
Along those lines. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Yeah. And he walked through why something like that would happen. Because, there's a huge amount of overhead here in the United States. Then there's overhead that happens in the UK because the money gets shipped over to the UK. Families with the, orphans.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We have Ahmed Sheikh with us today. He caught my eye recently with a number of articles that he wrote about zakat organizations, charitable organizations in the US, specifically that are doing work abroad, as well as Launch Good, which is an organization that I've actually used before. So I was very interested in what he had to say. For those who are unfamiliar, Ahmed Sheikh is a board-certified specialist in estate planning and a former chair of the Orange County Bar Association section on trusts and estates. He has served hundreds of estate planning, asset protection, and charitable planning clients since 2006. He has a BA from San Diego State University and a JD from Mauer Law School, Indiana University, Bloomington. The reason I have him, as I mentioned, is because of the articles that he recently wrote, including International Zakat Organization's Overhead Ranked, From Bloated to Lean, How Launch Good Keeps Up to Half of Your Charity for Itself Without Telling You. Islamic Relief USA's new Zakat policy is built for administrative bloat. And Penny Appeal USA needs to get its story straight on Zakat overhead.
So this is the person with some of the articles. And I'll read you here a tweet from him, from one of those articles as well. He says, how Launch Good keeps up to half of your charity for itself without telling you. Because, on their Launch Good, they say on their website, it does not charge any platform fees, though we rely on contributions given through the generosity of our donors. You can make a contribution of your choice in the middle of the payment dialog box. Hello? Thank you for including your contribution and whatever you put. But then he clarifies the reality of it. He gives an example of there was a campaign done on there for over 420,000, and Launch Good got out of it 131,000. This is what he states and so forth, puts forward. And there's one organization or another. We'll read you another article. He also writes about Islamic Relief USA. They claim no more than 12.5% of every zakat donation goes to administrative and operational functions. And he says, but according to a former Islamic Relief USA employee who spoke with Ahmed Sheikh, the charity spends more than twice as much on these functions. And he says Islamic Relief USA expenses claim of 2.5% does not add up based on figures they have provided themselves in tax documents. And he reports, and the fundraising expenses include salaries and advertising as collection of zakat, but does not provide information about these expenses to his donors. So Islamic Relief responded by saying the majority of our international projects are implemented through Islamic Relief Worldwide, and that additional fees may be applied to partners of theirs to cover administrative costs, but these costs do not exceed 7% of the project's total. So basically, this person, Ahmed Sheikh, is encouraging through his articles a hand-to-hand donation. Meaning, if it could be through these community people that gather money and then they send it to the poor or present it over there to a poor, instead of it going through these huge third parties that make so much cuts, one cut, another cut, another cut, and this cost and that cost, and by the time it gets to the poor, it's a very small amount, or perhaps not what has initially been raised. A big difference.
When it comes to zakah, we have lost all consensus about literally everything. Your donor intent is very clear. You're not giving your zakah to pay for Google ads. You're not giving it, you're not paying zakah for entertainment. The effect of a lot of these Muslim scholars have been...
Here's another statement of Ahmed Sheikh. And this is what's happening.
Having a 100% donation policy or a low admin fee is no indication of impact. And that's the key thing. I think actually this is my point. My point is just that. Every year, throughout the year, this question of donation policies raises its head. But actually, I think it's a bit of a red herring. It's because we're asking the wrong question. As a donor, rather than asking what's your donation policy, we need to start asking how impactful is your work.
This is what they want. This is someone of these bigger organizations saying, instead of asking, is it 100% zakat? What's your policy? They want you to ask, how impactful is your work? This is what they're mentioning.
What are you doing with the money?
What are you doing? What are you actually doing with this money?
Yeah.
And how good are you at it? And how do you know you're good at it?
And why are you doing it?
Yes, and why should I give it to you and not someone else? What's funny is that we do that analysis for every other purchase we do in our lives.
Kitchens. Okay. Why should we go for you and not the other one?
The other day, I was looking at buying a new TV. It's £500-600 is my outlay, right? I've been through Which, I've been through every...
Here you can see how he's comparing things, and this is where they're getting the analogy from.
Social media, you see someone persuading to collect donation for a certain cause or a project in a foreign country using powerful pictures and emotional language. You get touched by the message and donate to support the ones in need, and the influencer sends the money abroad to a contractor who actually builds the project. Everything looks normal, right? But wait a second, who is that contractor? It's the influencer himself.
So this is another thing, when they're saying how impactful, it's money, sometimes the way they generate your money for themselves is they say, okay, we're going to do this, we're going to send it to this type of person who we're going to purchase this from. And who they're purchasing from is a company of their own, or the contractor of their own, or someone who they have collaboration and they're doing something on business together. So this is how they're profiting in some of them times, and they're saying they're generating funds. And this is what they call sometimes al-waqf, an endowment. And we're going to leave this for this business. It's going to be a waqf for providing charity services. But they end up going and using your money to pay them, and then they buy those belongings. That's how they make money from that company, that business that they have. Sometimes this is what happens. This is what sometimes happens. And they're not transparent about it. And some are. We'll give examples.
Influencer created a skeleton company abroad to collect the money and subcontract the works to local businesses at the maximum profit margin he could possibly make. On paper, everything looks legitimate and adequate. For example, the influencer received $1,000 from you and wired $1,000 to the contractor in the foreign country. But the authorities don't see beyond that. And nobody will see the big picture. How much money was collected and how much was actually spent in the project, and where did the remainder go? Take water wells as an example. If you Google the cost of building water wells...
So these are examples that people have. We don't want to go too much into that part. So let's go like how Yaqeen Institute. We'll start with some of these charity organizations and some of these fundraising campaigns. One by one, how they sustain themselves or how they generate funds or what's their policies, inshallah, just so we can understand.
Who are inspired to contribute cannot be behind a paid platform. So we have three ways of sustaining our operations. First are our recurring donors. These people, alhamdulillah, really embody the hadith. The best of actions are those that are regular. Alhamdulillah, we have 2,000 donors who give between $10 and $1,000 on a monthly basis. Second, our fundraising campaigns. We understand donor fatigue is real. So we have select periods of the year that we fundraise. Ramadan, Dhul-Hijjah, end of year campaign, and one other. So to date, alhamdulillah, 30,000 people have contributed towards the success of the organization. Last but not least is our Waqf endowment strategy.
From the very beginning, we talked about an endowment. It was not an afterthought. It was going to be the way we functioned. And indeed, a Waqf or an endowment is really a long-term plan, a long-term sustainability plan for an organization. So when you think about this, what we do is we take the money that is donated to the endowment, we invest it, we take the returns on the investment, and we are hoping that over time, sufficient amount of returns from the investment will be able to sustain our operations. Not only will that make us financially stable, but also to lessen the burden on our donors. And as you know, long-term stability in the nonprofit sector is really key to ensuring that the mission and the vision can be achieved over time.
And sometimes is what they refer to as the endowment, is the example we gave of them creating funding with the money that they receive, a third-party company of theirs that is generating funds. And sometimes that becomes a business for them. They make their own money. And some of them, they suggest for them to do this. But we'll give you an example here of these type of endowments.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to my brothers and sisters from Germany and from Halal Czech and Halal community. My name is Dr. Tawfiq Chaudhary. I'm a medical doctor and emergency specialist from Australia. I live right now in Malaysia and I'm recording this from Malaysia. I'm the executive chairman of Mercy Mission World. We are a global charity, non-governmental organization based in 14 countries around the world. And alhamdulillah, we have thousands of people working with us in 8 different companies and 8 different projects worldwide, benefiting thousands of people. We have food programs, we have TV channels, we have schools, we have zakat agencies, and we have a large number of education projects like Al-Kawthar and others that are well known. Also, as a businessman myself, I run Malaysia's first and highest quality private women's and children's hospital called Andorra Women and Children's Hospital. It's my hospital, and I'm one of the major shareholders there. Also, I have a number of other businesses that I run, including construction in Malaysia, where we build some towers, as well as in Australia, where we are involved in the property sector.
So you can see, one time you're talking about charity and another time you're talking about his business. I want to see the connection of the two, inshallah.
Businesses I want to tell you about is something that I am 50-50 partners with a close friend of mine. And that project is called NSRG, National Security Resources Group. And this is a project or a business where we essentially provide guards, security guards, trained, Australian qualified, trained security guards to government as well as private companies. We were the providers for security for the Commonwealth Games. Also, we provide security to companies like Aldi in Australia, and we provide security guards to large events such as government events, and also protecting some of the government buildings, such as the Parliament. We are in need of a little bit of money in order to be able to expand and grow our business.
Okay, so we're going to get to how he connects his business to the charity. We'll show you fast forward, inshallah.
Already I have sufficient money for my own living, but I would like to build all these businesses so that I can leave it behind as a sadaqah jariyah and as a waqf, business waqf for the Muslims after me. And that is why I'm involved in different businesses, and that is why I work with my brothers and sisters across the world. Thank you once again. I look forward to speaking to you very soon, and I hope that inshallah you invest with us and make it into a very profitable and healthy and a rewarding investment in this dunya and also in the...
Okay, so this is what they mean by the endowment, and sometimes having these third-party have a charity and then they link it to sometimes some of their businesses from the angle that they're supposedly going to be given back to the charity. This is a lot of times. or they'll say that we receive salary just so we can donate again. Allah knows best about the intentions. We don't want to accuse anyone or doubt anyone. This is what, just to be transparent, this is what they're saying. So let's hear, like, for example, some of the wordings of penny appeal, how they speak.
% of your donations are going to help those in need 100% of the time.
So this is on their YouTube channel. 100% of your donations. And so this is what they mention on there. But at the same time, when you go to their CEO, what he says.
Penny Appeal USA CEO.
There is no such thing as a 100% donation policy. It just doesn't exist, meaning that there's a cost of overhead. You've got processing fees, credit card fees, you've got banking fees, you've got transportation, you've got logistics, you've got rent, utilities, you name it.
This is a CEO, and after that they were just saying on the YouTube channel, 100%. And he's telling now something else here.
There is no way that a charity can adhere to 100% donation policy. What they can do is find a subset of donors that are willing to underwrite all overhead fees, which is noble, which is fantastic.
So that's a bit contradictory, and you can also hear from Adam Yonis, the founder of Penny Appeal.
Licenses, you were learning about restrictions, you were learning about, the mafia. There's a mafia in every single business, and there's a mafia in the charity sector as well. And my biggest heartache in my life came when I set up Penny Appeal thinking that there's going to be a utopian world of hallelujah, praise be to Allah, and everybody's fighting each other. As soon as you set up a charity and as soon as you ask somebody for money, they're like, you want £5 off me? Where's that £5 going to go? How much is going to go to the admin? How much is going to go here? How much is going to go here? Like, you know what? We're growing.
And so this is what he's complaining about. And people are asking about where their donation is going to go. And how much is going to go to here. And that's considered to be people fighting one another. That's considered to be the mafia. And this is what he's complaining about in this podcast when talking about his experiences with charity organizations. Okay, let's hear how Islamic Relief, how they spend their money by their own words.
At Islamic Relief, we work hard to make sure that every penny is spent in the most effective way possible. Because we're accountable to you.
We are accountable to you. Every penny. Pay attention.
To people in need all around the world. And most importantly, we're accountable to Allah. That's why we think really hard about how to use your donations. So, how are they used? 90% goes into emergency relief and development projects, directly helping people in need. 4% supports the delivery of relief to countries all around the world. We're in over 40 countries worldwide, so if there's a disaster, it's a lot cheaper for us to provide relief. Because we're already there, on the ground, doing work. So more of your money goes to people in need. Being a worldwide charity entitles us to institutional funding, meaning we can multiply your donations. A recent example was our nutrition project in Kenya, where we managed to turn each pound you donated into £5. 3% goes into campaigning on essential issues, like challenging the government to drop the debt on poorer countries. And finally, just 3% is invested to generate more income, enabling us to help even more people out of poverty. It's simple. Islamic Relief uses your donations in the most intelligent way possible. If we thought there was a more cost-effective way to do it, we would. But what about gift aid? Gift aid allows charities to claim 25% on top of donations. 25% is a lot of money. We don't spend it on admin. We spend it helping people in need, which is where we believe you'd want us to spend it. Oh, and don't forget, Much of our work is done by thousands of volunteers who donate their time, like this commercial, for example, which cost us nothing. For more information, visit us online.
Volunteers, thousands of volunteers. And when you really look at a lot of what's mentioned on the reports and what's been followed, sometimes it can be problematic, what's being said. So here's the founder of Islamic Relief. We'll hear some of his words.
I said firmly and clearly, there's nothing without admin cost. Nothing. Whoever tells you zero admin, he is a liar. Unless he or she declares where they get the admin cost from. Whether it's a donation should have been declared, whether it's gift aid should have been declared, whether actually it is waqf has to be declared. Nothing on earth called 0% admin cost. And this becomes like a trend nowadays. Lobby all the ambassadors.
So you can take it from the founder. And even I had experience with a member from Islamic Relief who came to us at the masjid, who offered to match every dollar of donation that we receive at the masjid. So sometimes they have these projects, but the person doing the effort and pushing it, at times he's not volunteering. There is some money, and it's better to just be a little bit more clear about that as well. So here we're going to share some more words, inshallah.
What's going on, and what is an entity that, in my eyes, causes a lot of damage to the Muslim charity sector. You ask most people about Muslim charities, unfortunately, there's a very negative perception of them, right?
Penny Appeal will probably be ranking their number one.
No question.
That's not even a controversial thing to say.
Not at all.
If you ask someone from the big Muslim charities in the UK, which ones are the ones that are kind of marred with controversies, they will say Penny Appeal.
Time and time, and because it's time and time. I think they won probably their third charity commission investigation. Had one in November, talking exactly of all the things I've been saying: governance, about lack of controls, lack of oversight, poor management, etc. Like the same things cropping up time and time again. And I was really annoyed about I listened to that podcast where you called me a troll, and I expected nothing less. I actually listened, and if you listen carefully,
was there any truth in it?
There was no. Well, he didn't actually respond to any of the allegations at all.
He never explained. He just dismissed it.
Yeah, he dismissed it and said, "Oh, this guy's a troll," and move on. And I just think that's a rubbish answer, right? I've asked one clear, and I'll ask all your viewers to do one thing: email info@pennyappeal.org and ask them just a simple question. Since the inception of Penny Appeal, how much money has gone to companies connected to founders or trustees of Penny Appeal? Right? That's all you've got to ask. One question. You'll see it's in the millions. And why? And this is what I'm saying. This is not about me. It's not about personal thing. I don't care. I literally don't care. If you actually just take the time to look at their accounts, that's all you have to do. Black and white in their accounts. X amount of money goes to this company. X amount of money goes to that company. By the way, this company is linked to Adim Yunus. This company is linked to, he's either trustee, founder, or part owner of this company. The biggest elephant in the room, which I've never understood and no one's given me a clear answer to, is what the hell is British Muslim TV? You look at the accounts, there's this company, Esplanade Media, I think it's called, right? Penny Appeal have given, this is donor funds, this is your money that people have donated. I think in total, when I last checked, about over £4 million. For
advertising.
Yeah. Goes into this British Muslim TV. Do people know, or are people happy that, my money's going into a TV station that probably no one watches anyway, but fine. Goes into that. Then that TV channel is then giving money to Adim Yunus's companies. That TV channel is then showing ads and documentaries on single Muslim. Now, if I don't see a conflict of interest there, it's in black and white. What the hell? Not only that, there's another company, I think it's called MB Trading House, which I believe is Adim Yunus and a friend of his, that millions have gone to as well. Why? Like literally why? Why is that company that you have a trustee receiving money from the charity that they are?
Part of the background, we're just sharing here the words of this person.
What initiated this within yourself?
I think it was just, it bugs me, I've been really bothered about the Muslim charity scene. I've been donated to various charities, thankfully never Penny Appeal. I've donated to various charities, and it always bothers me. I always try and do my research on them, and there have been a few charities I've donated to that I've stopped donating to because I'm like, I don't like how they're operating now. I don't like how their costs are getting a little bit silly and what they're spending on. Right? Penny Peel just stuck out because I had people coming to me out of the blue saying, "Oh man, X, Y, Z about Penny Peel." They used to work there, telling me stuff, and I'm like, first there was a few people, and I'd say, "Go on the record. Why are you telling me? Like, I've got nothing to do with it." And no one was going on the record, literally. And they started piling up, and I'm like, okay, there's something definitely here. More people have been reaching out to me. I'm begging them, please go on the record. Like, I don't work there. I have...
A lot of the whistleblowers don't want to go on record, bro.
And why? They tell me harassment, intimidation, all this kind of stuff. Like it's a...
With the three Arabs.
Ahmed Sheikh, he has an article on his newsletter, Islamic Relief USA is expensive, zakat. And then he mentions that Islamic Relief takes about 40% for their costs, salaries and expenses. 40%. And that's what he mentions generally of donations. Allah alam, these are things that have been said. طيب, now what's the ruling on taking these percentages and commission? I want to know from an Islamic point of view.
يبلغني أن كثيرا من الناس اليوم يوظفون أنفسهم يجمعون أموال الزكوات.
Here Sheikh Albani speaks about some people, they employ themselves to collect money for zakat
من الأغنياء لكي يصرفوها على الفقراء ثم يوظفون أنفسهم ويجعلون لهم راتبا من نفس الأموال بحكم أنه من العاملين عليها. فنحن نقول هذا استغلال غير جائز شرعا وغير شريف خلقا.
So he says them doing this and then giving themselves a percentage, he says this is exploitation, and also it's not an honorable act, he said.
لأن العاملين عليها هم الموظفون من قبل مين؟ مش أنت توظف نفسك في نفسك وإنما الدولة وإذا كان من المعلوم شرعا.
But rather the person that's supposed to be employed, or the ayah meaning وَالْعَامِلُونَ عَلَيْهَا, the workers for zakat, who are recipients of zakat, are those who are employed by the government. And it has to be a government who establish order, not the person just employing himself. You know, the charity organization saying, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to give ourselves a percentage, we're going to decide how much we get. No, he says it's not to be like that.
والعامل عليها المولى من قبل الإمام من قبل ولي الأمر. العامل عليها لا بد أن يكون مولى من قبل ولي الأمر. لو ترك المجال كان كل واحد يجمع زكوات ويأخذ نصيبه أو يكلف من قبل من لم يوكل له هذا الأمر ويعطى نصيب من الزكاة باعتباره عاملا عليه. هذا ليس بصحيح. هذه فوضى.
Here Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Khudair, he mentions that the worker for zakat, the recipients get a share of the zakat, are those who are directed and employed by the wali al-amr, the ruler, the Muslim ruler. He says, or else it's going to be in disorder. And this is what we find. We find this person, these people, they get 50%, this one gets this amount of percent. The director gets this amount of salary. And they'll tell you everyone else, don't worry, their salary doesn't exceed over 60,000 a year from the donations. And this one, who's to decide that? Who's to control?
أحسن الله إليكم. وهذا يقول تقوم إحدى الجمعيات الخيرية بإعطاء نسبة على أي مبلغ يصل إليها عن طريق أي شخص بحيث يكون ذلك تشجيعا له للسعي في جمع مبالغ للجمعية. فما حكم الإعطاء خاصة أنهم يعطونهم من ذات المبلغ؟
ينبغي ألا يفعلوا، لكن إن كانت زكاة فلا تحل لا لجالبها ولا للجمعية أن تتصرف.
So they asked Sheikh Salih al-Haydan about these commissions. They take it from the actual money that's collected. He said they shouldn't do that. But he said if it's zakat, it's haram and it's not even permissible. One is like they shouldn't do it, and the other one is he's saying it's haram.
ليس هو من الجبات، هو يجب لنفسه، إنما حرص ليأتي بها إليهم حتى يأخذ المقدر من النسبة، ثم هم لا يملكون أن يعطوا من الزكاة أحدا لنسبته دعما لجمعيتهم.
من شرط العامل هو الذي يسمى الساعي، من شرطه يجب أن يكون نائبا عن ولي الأمر، يجب أن يكون نائب عن ولي الأمر. أنا أقول هذه الكلمة لماذا؟ وهذا باتفاق الفقهاء، لأن كثيرا من الناس، وهذه مسألة يعني مهمة، كثير من الناس يظن أن الذين يجمعون التبرعات هم من العاملين عليها فيجعلون لهم نصيبا منها، وهذا بإجماع أهل العلم غير صحيح، ما يجوز.
Here Sheikh AbdulSalam al-Shuway'ir, he mentions that by the consensus of the scholars that the amiluna alayha in the ayah, those workers for zakat that get a portion, are those who are representing the wali al-amr. They're substituting him. They're the authority, and he says these people who are just fundraising and then they give themselves a portion, he says they don't fall into it by the consensus of the scholars, he says.
الثالث من أصناف أهل الزكاة العامل عليها، العاملون عليها، وهؤلاء هم الذين يبعثهم ولي الأمر لجمع الزكوات من أهلها وصرفها لمستحقيها، فيعتبرون ولاة اكتسبوا الولاية من الإمام وليسوا مجرد أجراء. ولهذا هناك فرق بين الوكيل وبين العامل عليها. فمن أعطي الزكاة ليوزعها لا يعتبر من العاملين عليها، هذا يعتبر وكيل.
He says here Sheikh Sa'ad Khatlan, the professor, there's a difference between someone that was given wealth to distribute it and the actual collectors of it that are employed by the government by force to collect it. Now, these people, like Al-Uthaymin says, Al-Amilina fiha wa Amilina alayha. There's two differences. The Amilina alayha, these people, they're coming employed on behalf of those poor people to collect that money by force. It's like the tax collectors. They're working for the government, and you have to give it to them. They're doing this. This is their job, and this is the people. They're not just delegated by you voluntarily to go give someone. But these are people who are actually working in this cause. So they are representing the government who are establishing zakat.
لا يعتبر من العاملين عليها، هذا يعتبر وكيل. أما العامل فهو الذي يكتسب الولاية من ولي الأمر. فمثلا جمعيات البر والجمعيات الخيرية لا يعتبر من العاملين عليها، هؤلاء وكلاء عن أرباب الأموال في توزيع الزكاة.
The charity organizations, they are considered to be just delegated, appointed. They're not considered to be عاملين عليها.
هل العاملون في الجمعيات الخيرية يستحقون الزكاة على أنهم من صنف العاملين عليها؟
العاملين عليها من صلاحيات ولي الأمر، هو اللي يعطي العاملين، أما عامة الناس ما يملكون هذا الشيء.
Same thing, Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentioned a similar affair.
عم الشيخ عبد الله يقول أنا أعمل في إحدى الجمعيات وأجمع الزكاة من أهل الخير، هل أكون من العاملين عليها؟
ما تكون من العاملين عليها إلا لو أن ولي الأمر عينك لذلك، وأنت في الواقع لم تعين من قبل ولي الأمر.
Sheikh Abdullah al-Mani', one of the older shayukh who's part of these councils, a lot of these fiqh councils, and representing them. Today, a person asks me working in these charity organizations, am I considered min amilin alayha? He says, no, you're not. Because you haven't been delegated by the government to the wali al-amr, the ruler. There's some that misunderstand a clip of Sheikh Muhammad Salih Uthaymin, and they use it, and we'll share it here.
ثابكم الله. سائل يقول
هناك بعض الهيئات الإسلامية تقوم بجمع التبرعات عن طريق دفاتر محدودة أو صناديق، ويعطى لكل عضو متعاون نسبة 10% من مجموع التبرعات التي قام بها المتطوع، ويعتبرون ذلك مكافأة له على جهده في جمع التبرعات، فما حكم هذا؟
الظاهر لي أنه لا بأس به، يعني لا بأس أن يعطى من يجمع التبرعات من التبرعات، لأن هذا من مصلحة المتبرع له، والذين يعطون التبرعات إنما يقصدون مصلحة المتبرع له. فهذا الذي ينادي تصدقوا لكذا تصدقوا لكذا لا شك أنه تعب لسانه وتعب بدنه، فلو أعطي منها فلا أرى في ذلك بأسا لما في ذلك من مصلحتي.
So this is the clip that some misunderstand. And here Sheikh Muhammad Salih Al-Uthaymin, he is speaking about if they asked him about giving 10% of some fundraising and someone have to compensate them of whatever they did of their hard work. He said, no, I see no harm in that. And this is people that perhaps did something, some work. There's some people that perhaps they travel on their own expenses and they go and they're really working hard on the benefit of those poor people. So the Sheikh saying to give these type of people, because they've actually had some ta'ab, exhaustion in what they did. What they mentioned here, a small amount, 10%. But this is just about general fundraising. And this is what he's talking about. But another clip the Sheikh also explains, inshallah, we'll share.
العاملون عليها يعني الذين ولاهم رئيس الدولة أمر الزكاة يأخذونها من أهلها وينفقونها في مستحقها، هؤلاء هم العاملون عليها، فيعطيهم رئيس الدولة يعطيهم.
So another clip, he explains who are the عاملون عليها. So Sheikh Muhammad Salih Al-Uthaymin doesn't see even recipients of zakat, those who are fundraising, and even if they worked hard. And he's seen something else, someone that went through some expenses, endured some losses, while fundraising to give something. Even like sometimes there's cost of sending the money. And then they give this person compensation. Like these type of people, and it's perhaps has some justifiable reasons.
العاملين عليها انتبه للتعبير القرآني. التعبير القرآني من أدق التعبير. العاملين عليها أو العاملين فيها، وبينهم فرق. نعم بينهم فرق. العامل على الشيء له نوع ولاية.
So here he also, another clip, he speaks further, you can refer back to it. There's a distinction between the one within an act and helping or doing something, and someone that is responsible for it. That one is like the one been delegated by the Wali al-Amr, the ruler. So if there is some people, they had actually endured losses, supposedly, in the cause of all this gathering, and there was someone to give them, because it is a benefit for that poor person to get that money. And so it's like to get that money to that poor person, they had to endure certain losses, and they're compensating this person back. Small amount. This may have some justification for some of these fatwa, even though some scholars even say that should be avoided as well. But the same is talking about small amount, not talking about where it becomes half and half, or it becomes 40%. And they now like to send money to Palestine. There's a huge commission now. I know one person personally from our community who was struggling to find money to send money to back home to Palestine and Gaza, of the poor and those who are the children, the orphans, and these people that are the women and children. He was looking at ways to send money of relief. He found that the cheapest, perhaps, was the commission. Perhaps if he gathers 10,000, he has to give 1,500 in commission. That's the cheapest. Others will be perhaps 10,000, they take 6,000. And this is the money that's going to Gaza. And so you can find there's a lot of campaigns now on Google, on YouTube. All of these people just all of a sudden start to appear with so much zeal and passion. People are making money out of Gaza, unfortunately. And people are suffering, and this person is trying to make a livelihood. It's not just like muqabala ta'ab. I went through some difficulties to keep me full-time, to keep me going and collecting for these people. But now it's no, I want to make an extra profit. I have a high margin that I'm perhaps going to make more than those people that I'm actually collecting for. And some of them, this is what is the target sometimes. And then it's hard even people to get zakat money from these individuals. Sometimes this money stays and they keep saying that we're going to reinvest it in companies of ours, investing. There's poor people that are in need of it. And he keeps saying, I'm growing the money, and his net worth is just growing and growing, and there's poor people just getting poorer and poorer. And mashallah, you're growing the money, but what about these people? We need to find a way to get it to them more. Allah, if there's someone poor out there and you have zakat money, and they make dua against you, the dua may reach. And this is, they keep saying we're trying to double it, multiply it, and you're just getting more wealthy, but these people, some of them are not reaching it, or maybe small bags of rice may reach them, or a few days it may last them, or some program, take a picture of them and then you disappear.
How much money is being paid to employees or to the trustee and to the board? So after I've raised however much money, I'm realizing close to £1 million is being spent on these people to line their pockets. The money that you're raising is being spent where? Don't think charities, people are working for free. Yeah, that's the volunteers. But the board of directors, i.e. the trust.
So here someone's reading a tax report of some of these charity organizations. And he's reading how much is going to the wages and salaries. And it's a lot of money, especially of what is being in comparison to what's being compared. So a lot of people are outraged by this. So we need to find a solution. This is an advice that we need to find a solution. If people can go back to these other charity organizations that are very basic, or community people just getting together, sending money, I think this is better than how it is now. Because it's overwhelming now. Like, the highest paying job of some of these places, the chief executive officer, the CEO, and with a salary of $249,000 per year estimate. And so these are some of the companies. So we don't want to prolong any further, but this is just an advice that we know لِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ فِتْنَةٍ فِتْنَةُ أُمَّتِي الْمَالِ. Every nation has a fitna, and the fitna of this nation is wealth, so we must be extra cautious. And we know people are sensitive about this. And this is an advice for myself and others, that when we're taking a particular cause, we try to be transparent about it. But if it's general, like they say here, this is for your charity organization. any expenses for your charity organizations, you can give it. They can use it as whatever they have their expenses. Their electricity bill, this bill or that bill, the expenses of their employees. They can give them for that. But if they're saying this is for this cause, we want it for this well, or this Palestine, or Kada, or this matter, then that is a specific cause. It should go straight to those causes. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala knows best. Barakallahu feekum.